Hi there and welcome to the Daily Arsenal News Show. Let's dive into today's top stories. Pundit says he is worried every single time £25 million Arsenal player gets the ball. Aaron Ramsdale may not be playing too much for Arsenal these days, but he is still being spoken about quite a lot. Indeed, after David Raya's shaky performances against both Manchester City and Lens this week, there have been a few calls for Ramsdale to come back into the team. However, according to Stuart Robson, speaking to ESPN, Ramsdale can be just as dodgy as Raya at times. The Pundit stated that Ramsdale made a number of mistakes towards the end of last season, claiming that whenever he got the ball in that period, he thought the England international was going to lose possession. Robson spoke about the £25 million player and his lack of composure towards the end of last season. He said, Ramsdale made a few mistakes when he played the last few games last season. Whenever he got the ball, I thought he would give it away, so he is not great as a goalkeeper. It's fair to say that Ramsdale was a bit jittery when it came down to the crunch moment last season, but David Raya is also guilty of the same thing. He almost gave away 2 goals for free on Sunday against Manchester City, while in his Brentford days, he basically single-handedly cost the Bees promotion with a huge gaffe in the 2020 playoff final against Fulham. Both goalkeepers seems to lack a bit of composure in key moments, and that's a trend that needs to be bucked if Arsenal are to win major silverware this season. Arsenal have 2 solid goalkeepers at the club, and yet there still seems to be a bit of a problem between the sticks. Ian Wright says £30 million Arsenal players passing was ridiculous in second half versus City. Ian Wright has lauded the improvement David Raya made for Arsenal in their win over Manchester City, claiming that some of his distribution was unbelievable in the second half. Wright was speaking on Stick to Football after the Gunners made a real statement with Gabriel Martinelli scoring the only goal late on to move Mikel Arteta's side ahead of the Cityzens in the Premier League table. The performance of David Raya was one of the key talking points coming out of the game. The Spaniard actually had very little to do in terms of saves, but he certainly had an eventful afternoon. He misplaced a couple of passes early on, and he did not look too convincing coming for crosses. He also gifted Julian Alvarez the opening goal, but there is no question that the 28-year-old did improve as the game went on. He went from being the player Arsenal fans were most worried about to helping them get across the line. And Ian Wright has suggested that he started to show more of what he is about as the game went on. He said, I thought that he was very cool in the first half. Yes, it was nervy, but he did what the manager wanted because in the second half, some of his distribution was unbelievable, especially in the last 10 minutes of that game. The catching and the distribution was fantastic. We, as Arsenal fans, have to get used to the fact that he will take his time. There was clearly something Aaron Ramsdale was not doing. Few Arsenal fans would have put a new goalkeeper on their shopping list ahead of the summer, and barely anyone would have said that a new number 1 was required. But Mikel Arteta clearly felt that he needed something else, and it does appear that Raya's distribution is on another level when he is playing well. The £30 million man is now the first choice, having played both of the Gunners' Champions League games as well as their Premier League clashes with Tottenham and Manchester City. His first half display would have hinted to many that Arteta made a major mistake, but clearly Wright believes that Raya made up for that with his performance after the break. Pundit says £12 million Arsenal player Jorginho is basically useless defensively. Arsenal's midfield is a real conundrum for Mikel Arteta at the moment. Declan Rice is one of the first names on the Arsenal team sheet these days. That much is clear, but who partners Rice in this Arsenal team really isn't clear. Thomas Partey is, of course, an option, while the likes of Fabio Vieira and Kai Havertz have been present in that midfield this term. Jorginho got the nod against Manchester City on Sunday, but speaking on ESPN, Stuart Robson noted that the Italian really lacks defensive ability in the middle of the park and that Arsenal needs someone with a bit more steel in that spot. Robson spoke about the £12 million man and the composition of both Arsenal and Manchester City's midfield. He said, I always talk about midfield players needing to do both sides of the game. When he is a holding midfielder, not only can he get on the ball, he can defend as well. When you look at the players on the field, Rice can do that for Arsenal, but Jorginho can get on the ball and make things happen, but he can't defend. Bernardo Silva can get on the ball, but he can't defend, and he can't run as Rodri can. Robson is right. Jorginho isn't the best defensive player in the world, but we can't help but give him a pass on this one. The Italian has never professed to be a defensive wall. He is much more of a luxury player, and he does fit what Arsenal need in certain games. Against Man City, Arsenal, more than ever, needed to control the midfield and dictate the tempo of the game, hence why Jorginho was picked, and while they could also do with combining that with a bit more defensive toughness, those types of players are very rare. Arsenal will struggle to convince 19-year-old player to sign a new deal at the club. Arsenal journalist Charles Watts has now been outlining the future of Charlie Patino at the club beyond his current loan at Swansea City. Watts was commenting on Patino's future on his YouTube channel and took a chance to redress what happened in the summer. The journalist said that Patino was set to leave permanently before Arsenal decided to give him another chance on loan, and Watts now admits that Arsenal will struggle to convince the 19-year-old to sign an extension to his current deal. Patino will enter the final year of his current Arsenal contract when he returns from Swansea next summer. Speaking on YouTube, Watts said, there was a very good chance he was going to go in the summer, very good chance. At the start of the summer, he was going to go permanently. That decision had been taken, and people were working towards that. That changed as the summer wore on, and there were discussions going on between Patino's people and Arsenal. It started to change a little bit, and the decision was taken. Okay, I tell you what, we'll let him go out on loan again and give him a season, and we'll come back next summer and we'll sit down and decide the best course of action at that point. So Patino is only going to have a year left on his contract in the summer, and I think it's going to take a lot for him to be convinced to sign a new deal at Arsenal. Arsenal eyeing 24-year-old Champions League winger who is a very instinctive finisher. Arsenal have reportedly set their sights on Galatasaray winger Kerem Aktürkoğlu. This is according to Turkish outlet Photomag, who claims the Gunners and Tottenham are both in pursuit of the 24-year-old. Arsenal have begun the season well, sitting second in the Premier League table and beating Manchester City last time out. However, the Gunners have had a number of fitness and injury scares this season. The likes of Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Martinelli and Leandro Trossard have all had to have time out of the squad. With that in mind, Arsenal are seemingly keeping tabs on attacking reinforcement ahead of the January transfer window. Photomac claims that Aktürkoğlu has especially attracted attention from several clubs, and the list includes Arsenal and their rivals Spurs. Apparently, the Gunners watched the Gala Ace in the 3-2 Champions League win over Manchester United. Meanwhile, Tottenham boss Postecoglou is reportedly watching the 22 Cup Turkey international closely. In addition, both North London rivals will apparently look to watch Aktürkoğlu in the upcoming Champions League meeting with Bayern München. The Turkish outlet claims the player, who has 5 goals and 7 assists from 16 outings this term, has a €17 million price tag. Aktürkoğlu looks like a decent shoot for Arsenal. He is a left wing by trade, but can play all across the front line, and he is talented, young, and has a Champions League experience. As per Breaking the Lines, he is a very instinctive finisher. Many of his goals and chances are first-time shots taken after very intelligent runs and for less than £15 million. Actor Koglu isn't particularly expensive. All in all, Arsenal should certainly explore a potential move a bit further. Arsenal transfer target with huge talent also has admirers at Liverpool, says expert. Liverpool have an interest in Wolves winger Pedro Neto, according to Red's writer and expert Niall Jones in his exclusive column for the Daily Briefing. He said, I am not surprised to see Pedro Neto's name being linked with top clubs, given the way he has started the Premier League this season. The Wolves man has always been a huge talent, one admired by just about every big side, including Liverpool, but injuries have set him back significantly in recent years. Now he is back fit. We are seeing what he can do, and the pace and the threat he brings, plus the room for development he has at 23, mark him out as someone who can definitely take the next step by moving to a Champions League club. Whether that's Liverpool, they still need to get back to the Champions League, by the way, remains to be seen. I know that Neto has admirers at Anfield and that his versatility and skill set would be well suited to a Jurgen Klopp side, but then the same could be said, I believe, for a Mikel Arteta side or Pep Guardiola side. I believe he is of that level potentially. The first aim for him, though, must be to stay fit and to turn this purple patch into something more sustainable. He still needs to improve his numbers, particularly in terms of goal scoring, if he is to put himself in the top bracket of attackers, but he is making waves at Wolves right now, and if he continues to do so, then we can expect him to move on to bigger and better things next season, with reasons to think that Salah to Saudi Arabia stories might not be going away in 2024. Neto could definitely be one to watch. Neto has also notably been linked as a long-term target for Arsenal, and the fact that they have Champions League football and currently look closer to challenging Manchester City for the title could be key in determining who Neto chooses for his next club. Roy Keane says quality player would be a risky January signing for Arsenal. There has been a lot of talk about Ivan Toney moving to Arsenal this January. Fabrizio Romano has claimed that the Gunners have asked about the conditions of a deal, while the player himself has been open about the fact he really admires the North London club. As you can imagine, Arsenal supporters are very excited about the prospect of a player like Toney coming to the Emirates, but Roy Keane has his doubts. Speaking on Stick to Football, Keane has been debating the merits of the signings with Jamie Carragher, and he reckons that bringing Toney in would be a massive risk, considering he is not played competitively for a number of months after his recent ban. Keane gave his view on the striker potentially joining Arsenal. He said, I still think if they are to win the league, they need a striker. I do look at that and you think of the Toney situation, and he is a quality centre forward. He'd be coming to the club, having not played for a number of months. That's not ideal either. Keane is spot on. This signing would be a risk. Match fitness and fitness are two completely different things, and if Toney hasn't played for 6 months by the time he arrives at Arsenal, it will take him time to get up to speed. Come January, Arsenal may not have time to waste. They may be right in the middle of a title challenge, and they need to be bang at it every single week if they want to walk away as a champions. Toney is a fantastic player, and he could be the difference maker for Arsenal, but at the same time, signing a player off the back of such a lengthy suspension halfway through a season does seem like a risk, no matter who it is. Gary Neville says Arsenal would win the league if they had £51 million player in their team. Arsenal are firmly in the conversation as title challengers this season. The Gunners have just beaten Manchester City to put themselves in a great position to kick on after the international break, but at the same time, they do have their doubters. Speaking on Stick to Football, Gary Neville has been questioning Arsenal's attacking capabilities in their quest to win the title, claiming that they need a clinical centre forward to be considered as title favourites. Neville says that he would be backing Arsenal all the way if they had Erling Haaland on their side. but sadly, the £51 million man plays for their title rivals right now. Neville spoke about Arsenal's need for more firepower. He said, Jesus and Nketiah work their socks off, but in terms of quality, will that be enough to win the league? My only doubt is a centre forward. If they had Haaland or they had Kane, I would be saying it's Arsenal if they can keep Gabriel, Saliba, and Rice fit. But honestly, I worry about Nketiah and Jesus. They are erratic. Having that goal scorer is so vital if you want to win the league. Someone who can turn 1 point into three in the blink of an eye is usually the difference between challenging and winning the title. Sadly, Arsenal don't have that clinical forward in their squad right now, but with the January transfer window on the horizon, perhaps that's something that Mikel Arteta and Edu can look at in the coming weeks. Keep an eye on Arsenal's recruitment this winter. As we wrap up today's Arsenal news, remember to stay tuned for daily updates right here on the channel. Don't miss out on the latest updates, so make sure to hit that subscribe button and give us a like if you found this information valuable. Your support means the world to us. Thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.